Hey folks, welcome to week 10 of DMD 320, Application and Mobile Design. Okay, so this week we are going to continue our discussion a little bit more formally about the American with Disabilities Act and how it pertains to digital content and web and application design. You also are going to continue along working with Project 2. So let's take a look at the week 10 module. And so here in the Week 10 module, our main point of discussion is going to be continuing talking about American with Disabilities Act. If you remember last week, we had a chat about what reasonable accommodations are, how that stands in this year, in 2020, and how this all sort of fits together. And this year we have a new bit of reading. This is a story about how the Supreme Court allows blind people to sue retailers if their website is not accessible. So that is this article here from the Los Angeles Times. It's a really good article. You have to read through this. Now, last week, of course, we also gave you some other reading on this exact same subject, and we covered a little bit of it in class and had a little bit of a mini discussion. So this week, you guys are going to have a more robust discussion over in our discussions thread. So if you go over to discussions here on Canvas and go here to discussion 2, the ADA accessible website, mobile devices, and you. This is what you got to do. Each of you guys have to read through this article here that's at the beginning. This is just sort of a mini article. It also opens you up into a new article about disability and employment, a timeline commemorating 30 years of Americans with Disabilities Act. So lots of good reading material from last week and this week, all embedded here. Now, once you've read through the articles that were given to you over last week and this week, and by the way, they're all at the bottom here. These are the same ones I gave you before. As ADA turns 30, Supreme Court allows blind people to sue retailers, and this is a new one here, the Smashing Guide to Accessibility. This is a Smashing magazine, which I've probably talked to you about before. It is a website blog, and it has lots of good information about web and app design. So this is an article about accessibility and sort of a practical guide for designing for it. Now, once you've read through all of these, you are going to answer this prompt as thoughtfully and thoroughly as possible. So as a consumer of mobile content, you or someone you know will likely take advantage of some of the accessibility functions on your mobile device. Detail here your thoughts on the ADA's perspective and guidelines on web-based accessibility, the legal ramifications of these requirements, and the best practices prescribed to designers and content creators. Now, that one prompt incorporates information that you are going to learn about by reading all three of these articles at the bottom and even a little bit of this article up top here. So make sure you do your reading, take some notes, and really sort of understand the material that is presented to you. Now, none of the articles are particularly long, but they do offer some really good insight, okay? So this discussion is going to be open for not only this week, but into the following week, so weeks 10 and 11. Discussions are open for 2 weeks. And they require a lot of detailed analysis. This is not just a quick sort of hot take off the top of your head. So do your research, do your reading. This is sort of like a mini research discussion. You are going to be required to write 1,000-word minimum for your initial post. So again, this is not a quick discussion. It's like a little research paper. So put some thought into it. Obviously, you're going to want to do your research and probably write out your response in a separate document in advance, and then you can copy and paste your response into the discussion thread. After you have posted your discussion, after everybody's had a chance to reply, you're going to respond to at least 2 of your classmates' initial posts, commenting specifically on their analysis from the prompt. Discuss your thoughts in reaction to their ideas in a thorough and thoughtful manner. Maybe you agree with what they said, maybe you disagree with what they said, maybe you have some additional thoughts, maybe you have some questions. You never know. As always, all discussion posts are to remain civil, articulate, academically minded, and free of inflammatory language and derogatory comments, although I'm not at all worried about that with you guys, but them's the rules. Here are some basic discussion guidelines at the bottom that you can go over. So this is sort of your main homework for this week and next week, weeks 10 and 11, to really sort of take all of the reading material and a discussion that we've had about the ADA, accessible websites and mobile devices, and put it into sort of this mini research discussion. So definitely take some time to absorb all the material, put some thought into it, and respond to it. So that's the main goal this week. Meanwhile, in the background, of course, you're still working on Project 2, but not much has really changed this week. You got feedback on your design brief last week and on your mood board. Hopefully you've gone back and fine-tuned them and improved them based on the feedback you got from me, or maybe just based on your own need to improve them, because I'm sure you can see ways in which you can make them better. Once you are totally happy with your design brief and your mood board, it's time to start making your wireframes. You can start those anytime you want this week. Obviously, the earlier the better, but make sure you don't get into your wireframes until you're totally sure about where you're going with your design idea. Get in there and start designing. Now remember, the wireframes this time are going to be more robust. We have 10 screens to design. Put a lot of thought into them. Learn from what you did last time with your wireframes. A lot of you guys did a really nice job, but make sure that you were incorporating only black and white and shades of gray, no color. Typography can be sort of simple phrases or even lorem ipsum to fill in paragraphs if you don't have actual copy. You are really spending your time on the layout of each screen. Make sure you use guides, incorporate good margins, clean and neat use of the grid, good object organization and orientation. Make sure you group objects together into one functioning group. I don't want to see individual items not grouped together. Plan out your screens so that they are neatly organized. Name each of your artboards, right? So that by looking at the name of the artboard, I can see what each one is. All of this early work will go a long way into making sure your design phase goes a lot more smoothly. So lots of time on the wireframes. And remember, while it's not required in this class, if you would like, once you've finished your wireframes, go user test them with a couple of people. Just have some people look at them and see if they make sense, if they can understand how to navigate them. If you can make the time to do a little user testing, your final design will be that much better. Again, I'm not requiring it, I'm not checking it, but I would certainly encourage you to do so. All right, so that's the two things this week. Finish all your reading about the Americans with Disabilities Act, how it impacts mobile and web design. Participate in that discussion thread fully. Make sure that you follow all the guidelines and update and fine-tune your design brief and mood board. And if you've already done that, then get moving on those wireframes, okay? All right, good luck, guys. Get working. If you need any help, you know where to find me.